You work 12 hours a day. You come home exhausted. Your body aches. Your bank account stays empty. And you were told this would lead somewhere. Work hard, they said. Success will follow, they promised. But look around. The wealthiest people you know aren't the ones working the hardest. The construction worker breaking his back for 40 years? Still broke. The nurse doing double shifts? Drowning in debt. Meanwhile, the investor who checks his phone twice a day? Millionaire. Ayn Rand figured out why. And it's not what you've been taught. The problem isn't that you're not working hard enough. The problem is that you're working wrong. And in the next 25 minutes, I'm going to show you the difference between working like a slave and producing like a free person. The difference between staying poor and building real wealth. The difference that nobody wants you to know. Because when you understand this, you stop enriching them and start enriching yourself. From the moment you could understand words, you heard it. Work hard and you'll succeed. Keep your head down. Put in the hours. Hustle. Grind. The harder you work, the further you'll go. It's a beautiful lie. And it's everywhere. Your parents have said it. Your teachers repeated it. Every motivational poster, every success guru, every self-help book, same message. Work ethic is everything. Effort equals results. Just work harder than everyone else. So you did. You worked hard. You stayed late. You took extra shifts. You sacrificed weekends. You pushed through exhaustion. And where did it get you? Look at the people who work the hardest in this country. Construction workers, delivery drivers, retail employees, nurses pulling 16-hour shifts, Uber drivers working 80 hours a week. These people are destroying their bodies with work. And they're broke. Now look at the people making real money. Tech founders who code for 4 hours and think for 2. Investors who make decisions over coffee. Content creators who film once and earn forever. Real estate moguls who own while others work. They're not working harder. They're working less and earning more. That should tell you something. The system sold you a story. Work hard, get rewarded. But that's not how it works. That's how they want it to work for them. Because when you believe that working harder is the answer, you never ask the real question. Why am I working so hard and still going nowhere? You just assume you need to work even harder, more hours, more hustle, more grind. That's the trap. You're a hamster on a wheel, running faster and faster, thinking the next mile will be different. It won't, because hard work without value creation is just activity, motion without progress. And the only person getting rich from your hard work? The person who owns the wheel. Your boss. Your company. The system. They profit from your belief that effort equals reward. They need you to keep working hard. Because your hard work builds their wealth. Your exhaustion funds their vacation. Your loyalty pays their mortgage. Ayn Rand saw this. She saw that work hard is the motto they teach to people they want to control, not to people they want to free. And here's what nobody tells you. Working hard is not a virtue. It's a strategy. And if it's not working, you need a different strategy. So what's the real difference? Why do some people break their backs and stay poor while others barely break a sweat and get rich? It comes down to this: work versus production. And you need to understand the distinction because your entire financial future depends on it. Work is trading time for money. You show up, you do the task, you get paid. 1 hour worked equals X dollars earned. You stop working, you stop earning. It's a direct exchange, your time for their money. Production is different. Production is creating value that multiplies. You create something once, and it generates value over and over again. You build it once, you sell it infinite times. You make it once, it works while you sleep. Let me make this concrete. An Uber driver works. He gets in his car, he drives people around, he earns money per ride. But the second he stops driving, the money stops. No driving, no income. His earning is locked to his physical presence behind the wheel. If he wants to make more money, he has to drive more hours. There's a direct, brutal exchange. His life hours for dollars. Now look at the person who created Uber. They built the platform once. And now, every time a driver picks up a passenger anywhere in the world, the creator earns a cut. They're not in the car. They're not driving. They might be sleeping. But the money flows. That's production. Create once, earn infinitely. Here's another one. A personal trainer works with clients one-on-one. 1 hour, 1 client, 1 payment. If he's booked 40 hours a week, that's his ceiling. 40 clients maximum. He can't clone himself. He can't be in 2 places. His income has a hard cap, the number of hours in a week, But if that same trainer creates an online program, films the workouts once, sets up a website, automates the delivery, now he can have 500 clients, 1,000 clients, 10,000, all following the same program, all paying. And he's not trading his time anymore. He built it once. It runs forever. Same knowledge, same expertise. Completely different model. Or take a freelance writer. She charges by the hour. Writes articles, gets paid, moves to the next one. She stops writing, she stops earning. To double her income, she has to double her hours. But there are only 24 hours in a day. She's capped. But if she writes a book, an ebook, a course, she writes it once, publishes it, and it sells while she's doing anything else. Writing the next one, traveling, sleeping. The first product keeps working. Do you see the pattern? Work has a ceiling, 24 hours in a day. That's it. You can optimize, you can hustle, you can eliminate sleep, but you will hit the wall. There is a maximum to how much you can work, and therefore a maximum to how much you can earn through work. Production has no ceiling. A product can be sold to one person or 1 million people. A system can serve 10 customers or 10,000. A piece of content can be viewed by 100 people today and 100,000 next year. There's no cap. It scales. And here's the painful truth. When you work hard, you enrich the people who produce. You work hard at McDonald's? You're making McDonald's rich. The system is the production. The franchise model, the branding, the supply chain, that's what multiplies. You're just the worker feeding the machine. You grind 60 hours a week at your corporate job. You're building someone else's empire. The business model, the client relationships, the infrastructure, that's the production. You're executing someone else's creation. This is the mathematics of wealth. Workers have income. Producers have assets. Income stops when you stop. Assets keep going. Ayn Rand understood this at the deepest level. And that's what we're going to talk about next. Ayn Rand made a distinction that most people miss. And it's the difference between freedom and slavery. She separated the world into two categories, producers and workers. Now, before you misunderstand, Rand didn't look down on honest work. She respected anyone who earned their living through voluntary trade. But she understood something critical. There's a difference between executing someone else's vision and creating your own. A producer creates value that didn't exist before. An architect who designs a building. An entrepreneur who builds a business. An inventor who solves a problem. A writer who brings a story into existence. These people are adding to reality. They're making something out of nothing. They're architects of the world. A worker executes. A worker follows the blueprint, runs the machine, delivers the product, operates the system. Important? Absolutely. Necessary? Yes, but limited. Limited by the very nature of the role. And here's where Rand draws the moral line. If you have the capacity to produce, you have the obligation to produce. Let me say that again. If you can create, you must create. To waste your mind doing repetitive execution when you could be inventing, building, designing, that's not just economically stupid. It's morally wrong. Think about Howard Rourke from The Fountainhead. He's an architect. He could have taken a safe job, followed other people's designs, collected a paycheck, gone home. Easy life, secure income. But he refused. Why? Because he had a vision. He had buildings inside his mind that the world had never seen. And to not bring them into reality, to waste his creative capacity on copying others, would have been a betrayal. A betrayal of his own potential. Or John Galt from Atlas Shrugged. Inventor. Genius. He could have worked for a company, improved their systems, earned a good salary. But he didn't. He created an entirely new motor. An energy source that could change the world. And when the company wanted to take his invention, distribute it to society, and compensate him based on need instead of value, he walked, he destroyed the motor, he went on strike. Because Galt understood a producer's mind is not public property. Or Hank Rearden, steel magnate. He didn't just work in the steel industry, he revolutionized it. Rearden metal, a new alloy, stronger, lighter, cheaper. Nobody asked him to invent it. Nobody handed him a blueprint. He saw a problem, and he solved it through his own effort, his own thought, his own production. These are Rand's heroes. Not because they worked hard, though they did, but because they created. They brought value into existence that wasn't there before. Now here's what Rand also knew. Most people have the capacity to produce. Not everyone will invent a new motor, but everyone has something they can create, a better process. A useful tool. A service that solves a problem. Content that helps others. You have more capacity than you're using. And every day you spend only working executing someone else's vision, you're wasting it. She put it bluntly in Atlas Shrugged through Francisco d'Anconia. Francisco is the heir to a copper empire. He could have spent his life managing the business his ancestors built. Comfortable, rich, respected. Pure work-competent execution of an existing system. But Francisco didn't do that. He innovated. He pushed boundaries. He used the business as a platform to create, not just maintain. And when the system tried to make him sacrifice his producers to prop up the parasites, he burned it all down. Because managing someone else's creation, even brilliantly, was beneath his capacity. That's the standard Rand sets. If you can create anything less is betrayal. Now let's talk about why the system doesn't want you to know this. Producers are dangerous. When you produce, you don't need permission. You don't need a boss. You don't need the system to approve your value. You create wealth independently. You become self-sufficient, ungovernable. Workers are controllable. You need the job. You need the paycheck. You need their approval for a raise, a promotion, your livelihood. They own your time, and therefore they own you. The system thrives on workers. It needs workers. It needs you clocking in, following orders, trading your finite hours for their infinite profit. But producers? Producers break the model. Producers build their own systems. Producers say, I don't need you. That's why they teach you that hard work is the virtue. Not creative work, not productive work, just hard work. Obedience disguised as virtue. In Atlas Shrugged, Rand showed what happens when the producers stop, when the minds go on strike, when the creators say, enough. We're done feeding the machine. The system collapses. Immediately. Totally. Because without the producers, there's nothing to redistribute. Nothing to manage, nothing to tax. The workers can't sustain the system, they're executing someone else's vision. And if the visionaries leave, it all falls apart. The trains stop running, the factories shut down, the lights go out. Not because people stop working, people are still working. But because the producers stopped producing. And you can't work without something to work on. You can't execute without a design. You can't run a machine someone didn't invent. Rand's message. The mind is the source of all wealth, and if you have a mind, you have the power to produce. You're not limited to your labor. You're limited by your willingness to create. Here's the final piece. Working hard is the virtue they teach slaves. Because slaves don't own their production masters do. So what do you teach a slave? Work hard, obey. Effort is virtue. But producing? That's the virtue of free people. Because when you produce, you own what you create. You control the value. You decide who gets it and at what price. You're not serving someone else's ends, you're building your own. Rand would tell you this, if you're capable of producing and you're only working, you're living as a slave by choice. And that's not noble. It's tragic. Alright, you understand the difference now. Work versus production. Execution versus creation. Trading time versus building assets. So how do you actually make the shift? How do you go from worker to producer? It's not complicated, but it's not easy either. Most people fail here. Not because they can't do it, but because they quit too soon or they never start at all. Here's the roadmap. Step 1. Identify what you create, not what you execute. Ask yourself this question. If I stopped working for 1 month, what would continue generating value? If the answer is nothing, you're only working. You're not producing. Let's test it. You're a graphic designer. Clients hire you, you design their logos, you deliver. You get paid. You stop, money stops. That's work. But what if you've also created a template pack? A library of designs that people can buy and customize themselves? You built it once. It sells while you sleep. That's production. You're a consultant. You charge by the hour for advice. Stop consulting? Income stops. Work. But what if you've turned your advice into a system? A framework? A course that teaches others what you know? You record it once. It serves thousands. Production. You're a software developer. You code for clients, hour by hour, project by project. Stop coding? Stop earning. Work. But what if you've built a SaaS tool? A plugin? An app that solves a recurring problem? You code it once. It runs forever. Production. See the pattern? You need to find a thing you create that exists independently of your direct time input. That's your shift point. Most people already have this skill. They're just using it the wrong way, one-to-one instead of one-to-many. Your job isn't to learn something new. It's to leverage what you already know. Step 2. Find a multiple. Turn 1x into 100x. Here's the question. How do I take what I do for one person and make it available to 100 people? Right now, you probably serve people individually. One client, one session, one project. The way you scale that is not by working more hours. It's by creating a system, a product, a tool that serves many people with the same effort you used to serve one. A fitness coach trains clients one-on-one. She's great at it, but she's capped at maybe 30 clients per week. That's her ceiling. The multiple? She records her program, films the workouts, writes the meal plans, builds a membership site. Now she can serve 300 people. 3,000 people, same knowledge, different delivery. A lawyer gives legal advice on contracts, $500 per hour. Maybe 40 billable hours a week. Capped at $20,000 a week maximum, and that's if she never sleeps. The multiple? She creates contract templates. Standard agreements for common situations. Sells them for $200 each. Now she's uncapped. She wrote them once. They sell forever. A teacher tutors kids in math, one student at a time. $50 hour, 40 hours a week equals $2,000 a week max. The multiple? She creates an online course. Video lessons, practice problems, automated feedback. 2,000 students pay $100 each. That's $200,000. Same teaching, delivered once. This is the shift. You're not inventing something new. You're packaging what you already do in a way that scales. Step 3. Build the asset. Invest time in creating, not executing. This is where most people quit, because building the asset takes time. And in the beginning, it pays nothing. You're going to work twice as hard for a while. You'll have your regular work, your income. That pays the bills. And then, at night, on weekends, in the margins, you'll build your production, your product, your system. Your first few months, you'll earn zero from it. You'll be exhausted. You'll question if it's worth it. You'll want to give up and just work more hours at your job, at least that pays immediately. This is the test. This is where producers separate from workers. A worker thinks, I need money this month. So they take more shifts, more hours, more clients, immediate payoff, but no progress. A producer thinks, I need wealth in 5 years. So they sacrifice now. They build now. They plant seeds that won't bear fruit until later. But when they do, the harvest is infinite. Most people can't delay gratification that long. They need the dopamine hit of immediate payment. So they stay workers forever. Here's what you need to accept. Your asset doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to exist. And it needs to be sellable. Version 1.0 will be rough. That's fine. Launch it anyway. You'll improve it as you go. But you can't improve what doesn't exist. And you can't sell what you never finish. Set a deadline. This will be done in 3 months. Not perfect. Not polished. Just done. Then you move to step 4. Step 4. Test and scale. Sell to 1, then 10, then 100. You've built the thing. Now you need to prove it works. Sell it to one person. Just one. Doesn't matter if it's your friend, your cousin, someone from Twitter. One sale proves it has value. Someone was willing to pay money for what you created. Then sell to 10. Refine your pitch. Improve the product. Fix what's broken. Add what's missing. 10 sales prove it's not a fluke. There's demand. Then sell to 100. Now you have a real business. Now you have proof of concept. Now you can scale. Most people never do this because they're waiting for the perfect moment. Perfect product. Perfect website. Perfect marketing. Perfect doesn't exist. And while you're waiting for perfect, someone else is selling good enough and getting rich. Launch ugly. Improve fast. That's the move. Step 5. Cut the cord. When production exceeds work, quit the job. This is the moment that terrifies people. The moment of freedom. Your asset is generating income. Maybe it's $2,000 a month. Maybe it's $5,000. It's not more than your job yet, but it's real. It's consistent. It's growing. And you have a choice. Keep the job, the safe option. Or quit and go all in on your production. Most people choose safety. They keep the job. They keep the steady paycheck, and their production stalls. Because you can't build an empire in your spare time. You need focus. You need energy. You need commitment. Rand would tell you, security is an illusion. Your job isn't safe. You can be fired tomorrow. The company can go bankrupt. The industry can collapse. You control nothing. But your production? That's real. That's yours. You control the value. You control the growth. You control the outcome. When your production income hits 50 to 70% of your job income, that's the signal. Quit. Yes, it's terrifying. Yes, your family will freak out. Yes, you'll doubt yourself. But you're not quitting to sit on the couch. You're quitting to go all in on building wealth. And when you do, your production will explode. Because now you have time. Now you have energy. Now you're not splitting your focus. The people who stay in the job just a little longer, they never leave. There's always a reason to stay. One more year, one more bonus, one more promotion. Meanwhile, the person who jumped, they're 3 years ahead. They're building. They're scaling. They're free. Here's the truth. You'll never feel ready. There will never be a perfect time. The fear will always be there. Jump anyway, because on the other side of that fear, that's where the producers live. Let me show you what this looks like in real life. Case 1. Sarah, the designer. Sarah was a freelance graphic designer. Good at her work, reliable, professional. She charged $75 per hour, worked about 60 hours a week. Did the math, that's $4,500 a week, roughly $18,000 per month. Sounds decent, right? Except she was exhausted. Client revisions, deadline pressure, constant emails. No vacation because if she stopped, the money stopped. She was a slave to her calendar. Then she had an idea. She noticed she was designing the same types of things over and over. Instagram templates, logo variations, brand kits. So she spent 3 months creating a library, pre-designed templates people could buy and customize. She launched it for $47 per pack. First month, 12 sales. $564, laughable compared to her freelance income. But she kept going, improved the templates, added more packs, built a simple website. 6 months later, 300 sales per month. That's $14,000, and she wasn't working on those sales. They happened automatically. Today, Sarah works 15 hours a week on new templates, earns $40,000 per month, travels, has time for her kids. Lives like a human being. Her freelance colleagues, still grinding, still trading hours, still broke when they take time off. They ask her how she did it. She tells them. They say, that won't work for me, and they stay stuck. Case 2. Marcus, the personal trainer. Marcus trained clients at a gym. One-on-one sessions, $60 per session. He was good, really good. Fully booked. 30 clients per week. Maxed out at about $7,200 a month. But he couldn't grow. There are only so many hours in a day. He couldn't clone himself. He hit his ceiling. So he created an online program, filmed his workouts, wrote meal plans, built a members-only site, charged $30 a month, started with 10 clients, then 50, then 200. Today, Marcus has 800 paying members. That's $24,000 per month. The workouts run on autopilot. He updates content once a month. The rest of the time, he trains himself, creates new programs, lives his life. His gym colleagues are still doing one-on-one sessions, still capped at 30 clients, still making $7,000. They see Marcus's success, they call it luck. It wasn't luck. It was a decision. Case 3. David, the accountant. David did taxes for small businesses. Manual work, spreadsheets, filings, invoices. He charged $150 an hour. Worked 50 hours a week. Made about $30,000 a month during tax season. Off season? Way less. He was good at his job, but he was trapped in it. Every client needed him personally. He couldn't take a vacation. He couldn't scale. Then he built a software tool. Automated the repetitive parts of tax preparation. Things he did 1,000 times manually. Now the software did it. He charged businesses $200 a month for access. First year, 30 clients, $6,000 a month. Still working his regular practice, but he saw the potential. 3 years later, 450 businesses using his software. That's $90,000 per month. Recurring, predictable, automated. He still does some consulting, but now it's optional. The software is his income. The consulting is gravy. His accounting peers, Still doing everything manually. Still overwhelmed every tax season. Still complaining about clients. They see David's software. They say, I could never build something like that. Maybe not, but they never tried. The pattern. All three stopped working hard and started producing smart. They took what they already knew and turned it into something that scales. They invested time upfront with no immediate payoff. They pushed through the doubt, and now, they're free. The contrast? Their former colleagues are still working. Still trading time. Still stuck. Not because they're less capable, but because they never made the shift. The transition took 1 to 3 years of building. But that bought them a lifetime of freedom. Here's what you need to remember. Working hard makes someone rich. Just not you. If you're only working, you're building someone else's empire, their wealth, their freedom, their future. But if you produce, you build your own. So here's your challenge. Identify one thing you do repeatedly that could become a product. One skill, one process, one piece of knowledge. Ask yourself, how do I turn this into something that works without me? That's your starting point. Stop trading your life for paychecks. Start building assets that pay you while you live. If this hit you differently, hit that like button. Drop a comment. What's the one thing you could turn into production? I read every single one. And subscribe, because next week we're talking about why you don't owe society anything. Not your time. Not your effort. Not your sacrifice. The thumbnail says it all. Owe them nothing. Ayn Rand said the world needs your mind more than your hands. But your mind only works when it's creating, not just executing. So stop working, start producing. I'll see you in the next one.